Tell us about the time we faced. All right. Well, as I remember. At Avenger headquarters. Because united, the Avengers are strong.
Welcome to the Marvel DNC Evolution podcast with myself, Andy Stead.
And I'm Jarian Gibson.
And I'm Alex Strout.
And I'm Jamie Smith.
How are we all doing, lads?
Good.
Doing great.
Excellent. Having a good Easter?
Yeah, low key here.
Yeah. Well,
lots of chocolate.
Yeah. I've already done ours. I said let's just eat it all in one go, and now I'm on hard stuff. So I'm having a good time. And we're live again as always. So anybody that's listening in, drop us a message, say hello, give us a little wave, and obviously, as always, chip in on the conversation as and when you feel like you want to. Hello, Lisa's already there. Look, she's ready on the button to watch it, and Xander's there this week. I forgot to say hello to Xander last week. Yes, the RMC. How you doing, mate? All right. So let's get cracking. Just before we get started, I've been just talking about what we've been reading this week. I thought I hadn't read anything new for a little while since I read King in Black, and I thought I should get into reading something new. And I started reading a little bit about Jane Foster's Thor when she became Thor, because I thought it was relevant, with Love and Thunder coming out. And I don't know how much you guys have read into it, but I'm quite enjoying this little. It's quite new for me. I've not read anything about. I've read her in a few things since then. The crossovers, War of Realms, and a few other bits and pieces. But actually looking at this origin of her becoming Thor has been quite good. And I didn't realise, and I'm still yet to read the original Sin run, because that's when Thor becomes unworthy of Mjolnir. And that's got to do with Gorr. I don't know if anybody knows, if you know what happens, how he becomes unworthy, but it's to do with Nick Fury, and he whispers to Gorr at the end of original Sin. He said Gorr was right, and it's basically meaning that the gods are just these kind of, they're higher beings, and they've looked out, they've kind of brushed off humans and brushed off life and things like this. But really interesting little tidbit there, because I thought, maybe that will play into Love and Thunder, and because obviously we've seen the promotional material with Jane with Mjolnir. So I wonder whether there'll be something along those lines where Thor becomes unworthy because of Gorr, because of maybe what he does or what he wants to do. I'm not sure. Where's Mjolnir going to come from? I mean, there is no Mjolnir at the moment, is there? I mean, in the comics, it's just left on the moon, and it just stays there until Jane picks it up. But I've not got much further along in that story yet, so I don't know much more about it at the moment. There's Frigga's something to do with it, and I'm not quite sure what's going to go on there, because, like I say, I haven't read that far. I don't know if anybody's got any opinions on anything like that, how that could tie into the Love and Thunder movie before we move on.
I don't. Real quick, Alex, I don't have anything that will tie into that, but when I get to the news, there's some stuff about the Marvel Legends characters I've dropped that have some hints there.
Oh, okay. Go on, Alex.
So I was going to say, I think it would be really interesting if they use the events of the snap off-world for Gorr, and maybe make him somebody who was vengeful about people being snapped on his planet or something like that in the MCU. And they use that as his kind of way, maybe make him part of one of the planets that were part of Yggdrasil, and on Odin's part of the Odinheim or whatever. And that's why he's mad at Thor, because he feels wronged that he didn't stop Thanos or whatever. And maybe that's why I could honestly see that happening maybe in the MCU.
There's a lot of Jarian, was your piece of news on Love and Thunder to do with Gorr's look on the Legends?
It's not just Gorr's look, but also Mjolnir as well.
Right.
So,
because obviously there's been a lot of controversy around Gorr's look. I say controversy. I wouldn't say call it controversy, but a lot of conversation about Gorr's look. I mean, I know that Alex and myself aren't huge fans of the way that they've got the way that they look like they're going with it. I don't know what your thoughts are on it, Jamie. Jarian, what are you thinking?
I don't like the way it looks, but I get it. I don't think Bale's really ever done anything with his heavy CGI or heavy prosthetics. He likes to act. He doesn't want to be masked, and I think it might just be down to that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
maybe
and
Barry?
for me, I'm not too worried about it. The toy doesn't look as much as what I've seen from the set pictures that have leaked out, where you actually saw him in Gorr costume with the hood and everything, the black hood, and so the toy didn't look as much like that. So I'm gonna wait and see till we get a trailer drop, which I have some thoughts around that as well too once we talk about the news. But I'm just wait and see. You know, the toys aren't always accurate. There's always changes from the toys. So
Yeah. Anyway, I just thought I'd bring that up. That's what I'm reading at the moment. Just trying to get ahead of the game a little bit and understand a little bit more about Jane Foster and how she became Thor and why. And because there's a really interesting bit in there, isn't there? In the comics, is that she's ill, isn't she? She's got cancer and she has to have Molyneux, otherwise she starts becoming weaker. So I wonder whether they're going to go down that route. Maybe the exposure to the ether in the MCU gave her cancer. Yeah, I know. I'm pretty sure I probably stole that idea off of you, Alex. You tell me. I know you sitting there nodding like, yeah, good idea, Andy. Like, I think I got that off of you.
Because that's like my room 101 with the MCU. It's like one of the things that I always felt was like so just throw that out. But at the same time, if you're going to use it, I think that's the perfect vehicle to use it for. It would be in that way. So.
Yeah, RMC's gone. Yeah, I like that thinking, Andy. I can't take credit for it. I'm almost positive that was Alex's idea. And hi, Roxy. Roxy's viewing. How you doing? Okay. Anyway, that's all. That's what I've been reading. Any of you guys been reading anything or collecting anything recently that's different?
go ahead. Oh, you're gonna show something today, Jimmy.
The little Lego Moon Knight.
Nice. I like that one.
Look
awesome.
at that.
Oh, I like that. I want that one.
So correct me if I'm wrong. There are no Moon Knight Lego figures, and these are because the one that you showed the other week on the Hell Charger, and the one that Jamie's just shown, you've made them. They're customs, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, mine I made from official Lego parts, like extra pieces from different things I pulled together. I think Jamie's was one of the third-party ones that you can order now.
Yeah. AliExpress.
But there is rumors though. So you know how they had the minifigures pack with like all the characters from What If last summer. There is rumors of another one coming this year, which should be more from the Disney series as well. So we will get a Moon Knight, we'll get a Mark Spector, we'll get a Mr. Knight, we'll get a couple of those, some of those from the Disney shows as well. So
talking about Mr. Knight and collectibles and things like that, the Funkos look decent, don't they? The Funko, that Khonshu Funko looks
out of this world.
It does, doesn't it? And I think it's bigger, isn't it? I think it might be a slightly bigger one.
Yeah, I think it glows in the dark too, doesn't it? Was that the one that glowed in the dark? I think I showed the
special
picture of.
I think that's an exclusive. Yeah. But if they made one of those that was like 10 inches tall, they should make one that's like 10 inches tall. If they don't,
it should be bigger.
Yeah,
opportunity.
It should be like Hulk, shouldn't it? It
Yep.
should be one of the ones that's not quite massive. It's not massive, but it's the next rise up. Yeah.
Because Khonshu in the show is massive compared to Mark, so why not make the
towers
Funko
over
massive compared to Mark's Funko or to Steven or to Moon Knight himself?
Yeah. And I'm liking the Mr. Knight Funko. That looks really cool. And I've also just found, literally like about an hour ago, somewhere near me that sells really rare, and they sell loads of Funkos as well. And it's literally down the road, and I've never been there. I didn't even know it existed.
Don't go. So, don't do it.
Anyway, enough about what we've been collecting and what we've been reading. Monty's on as well. How you doing, Monty? Nice to see you, mate. Lisa needs Moon Knight Funkos as well. Who doesn't need Funkos?
Speaking of reading stuff, one thing I picked back up to read again was Black Panther: World of Wakanda. Because I think some of those storylines are going to parallel in Wakanda forever, especially with the Dora Milaje, with Okoye, and then still trying to figure out, I don't think we've officially confirmed who Michaela Coel is playing as well, if she's one of the Dora Milaje that helped trains them. So there is some storylines there. So I'm going back and reading that and preparing for Wakanda Forever coming up later on this year.
Nice. Right, let's crack on with some news then. What we got?
Yeah, real quick. You guys don't hear my son in the background, do you? He's like right next to me. I'm trying to mute myself. He's too loud. So okay. First things first. James Gunn. He took to Twitter to address a rumor that he's done with Marvel after Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So he took to Twitter to correct a false statement, and his statement was, "There are presently no characters at either Marvel or DC that I want to be working with right now that I am not. Yes, and I acknowledge that the wording of this tweet is linguistic Olympics." And so if you think about it, he's got the Guardians. End of Guardians 2 for Yondu's send-off. We saw all the Ravagers. There were so many characters that he could work with there. There's been talks of a Ravagers Disney Plus series. He's worked with some of the Asgardians. He could do as Guardians of the Galaxy. There's all kinds of ways that he could cross over. Even with some of the Thor characters. So he has all kinds of stuff. And if they introduce Nova or Silver Surfer, and now they're doing Adam Warlock and High Evolutionary, there's all kinds of ways that he can continue to work with Marvel. So it's good to see him take to Twitter to correct that misnomer out there that he's done after this series.
And like you say, that sort of the words that he used, he was kind of skirting around saying, well, I'm already working with a load of different characters.
Yeah.
I could see him making something about Adam Warlock with Will Poulter being more of a central figure.
Yep.
This being his introduction. I really could.
Have you guys seen the movie Brightburn?
Yes.
I haven't, but I know what you're talking about.
Yep.
I would like to see him make maybe a Century movie, kind of like Brightburn.
Right. Okay.
Yes. Or even a Megas movie with Adam Warlock.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting.
Kind of like a dark, he kind of puts that weird dark spin on that movie, it's kind of completely different than everything else I feel like he's made in that kind of genre.
Yep.
So very serious.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah.
Yeah, Brightburn's very it's like if Superman was a serial killer, and nobody could stop him,
teenage/child.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, Monty said he likes that. He likes that theory there, Alex. He likes that option. Yeah, nice.
And then next thing, Karen Gillian would love to explore Nebula's backstory in Disney Plus series, which I would love to see. And someone in the group also said that when I posted that's a good way to also bring Brolin back as Thanos, because if you're doing any kind of backstory on Nebula, of course you're going to see Thanos there. So,
yeah, I don't mind Nebula, but I'm not sure. Personally, I'm not. I wouldn't be overly bothered about seeing it, but there's a few scenes that I would have liked to have seen, and I think you posted one, didn't you, Joe? And that's yeah. I would have liked to have seen that, but I think the boat sailed for that one, to be honest.
Well, we can see a what if episode still, in next season. They could, do her having a dream sequence maybe of doing that if she had a Disney Plus backstory of that, of dreaming about killing him or just fantasizing about killing him. So there's ways they could still bring it in. We'll see.
Yeah, that's true, and that is something that I reckon I could see her doing as well. Yeah, that fantasizing, because that was literally, she was consumed by it, wasn't she? After that point, that was it. That was all she wanted to do. Yeah.
And then speaking of Asgardians, there's still no Thor, Love and Thunder trailer. But it appears the work is done, because we've seen some of the people talking about it's been dubbed in different languages, which means the trailer is pretty much done. It's just now waiting for Marvel to ship it. Now, we do see some merchandise. There's been some Marvel Legends stuff out there that we talked about briefly in a little bit a while ago. There's also a coffee cup, too, that addresses some things. So first thing, we get a hint at Gorr. Again, I'm not too hung up on the look of them. It's Marvel's Legends toys. It's probably not 100% accurate, especially when I've seen the set leak picture of him with the hood, and with the black hood and that kind of stuff. But it also does tease Valkyrie as King of Asgard, of New Asgard, so as well. And then we also get Mjolnir close-up pictures. It looks like a reformed Mjolnir like we've seen other toys. So we see the cracks in it. It's like the Legos show the same thing. So it does look like it's not from the multiverse. It does look like that somehow maybe when she does something to become worthy, it reforms for her, or she touches it, it reforms. But it looks like it's a repaired, reformed Mjolnir. Even we could see her go back to Never Delirium and get it fixed maybe to get it also. There is a coffee cup about the goats. And it appears that the goats are part of a new Asgard tourist attraction. So,
They are Tooth Gnasher and Tooth Grinder.
yeah.
That's what they're called. Yeah, I quite like them goats. I think they're going to be funny. I see they're going to go boss-eyed or something. You know?
Yeah.
But yeah, that's going to be interesting to see how they use them.
And when it comes to the trailer, since we're getting some more God stuff, I know we're going to probably talk about Overvoid and the celestial place for the gods. It's kind of similar to Asgard, and they can travel similar to the Bifrost. I wonder if we don't see the trailer yet because Moon Knight, there's possibly a tie there. And my guess is we'll probably get a trailer towards the end or right at the end of Moon Knight's season, if I was a guessing person. Just because of the whole God stuff, and that could directly tie into Gorr. There's some things they can play there. Like I said, Overvoid is very similar to Asgard and the way they travel with the Bifrost.
So, End of No Way Home, we had the Doctor Strange trailer.
I don't want to see that again.
No, but could you see that we could get the Love and Thunder trailer at the end of? Help me out.
Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, thank you.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I don't want to see like that at the Multiverse of Madness. What I wouldn't mind seeing is maybe in like a season closing credit scene teaser of something about Gorr showing up and killing some of the gods that we saw in this week's episode, or their avatars even. And then they release the Thor trailer that day. That's what I wouldn't mind seeing. I don't want to see another them way to say, okay, we're going to start using closing credit scenes to tease the next movie. I think that takes away from the movie.
To tease the movie as in tease the movie and and actually show the trailer, or tease the movie with a scene. Not from the trailer, but
I would tease the movie with the connecting scene like we've done in the past, not show a trailer like they did with No Way Home and Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's almost like you're cheated out of a scene.
Yep.
If you just see a trailer, you're like, well, I can see the trailer tomorrow on YouTube or something.
Yeah,
You know?
I want another scene.
Yeah,
Exactly.
I didn't stay all through the trailers
To see it. Yeah, to see another. Yeah, I didn't think they're closing credits to see a trailer.
Yeah, that should have been at the beginning.
Yeah, exactly. Unless it ruins the movie, which Mom did not ruin No Way Home at all. So they could have actually put the Mom trailer at the beginning of No Way Home.
Yeah.
So
I'll tell you what a few. I mean, it looks like it could be a few weeks away, regardless of whether it has got any tie-ins to Moon Knight or Multiverse Madness or whatever. It looks like it could be 2 or 3 weeks away, this trailer. And what a week that's going to be. The finale of Moon Knight, the Love and Thunder trailer, and Multiverse of Madness being released. Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised, though, if we see it in the movie theaters before Multiverse of Madness. I could see that also as well, but don't do it after. I think that's just dumb.
Wouldn't it be cool if Mjolnir comes from the multiverse and it comes after? That's why we're not getting the trailer, is because it literally flies from the multiverse after the events of Multiverse of Madness and crashes into MCU.
It could, and if it crashed, got destroyed, maybe because maybe something happened. But everything I'm seeing so far looks like it's reformed, so that they'd have to say, if it comes from the multiverse, why is it being reformed? You know, unless it comes and it breaks or something like that, or crumbles when it hits.
I mean, they could always say that since Hela destroyed it and her being the goddess of death, that it couldn't be reformed in this universe.
Yeah, it could be. Yeah, it's basically like a Nexus Mjolnir, right? He destroyed one, destroy them all, maybe.
Yeah.
Where does everybody listening thinking that Molyneux is going to come from? Drop us a comment and tell us where you think it's going to come from.
And also, too, for some reason I'm not seeing the Facebook chat again, so hopefully you guys keep an eye on that.
Yeah,
right now. Okay, cool. Next bit of news: Levi Miller joins the cast of Craven the Hunter. He's a 19-year-old Australian actor, best known for playing Peter Pan in the 2015 WB version of Pan. So another casting there. Don't know much about him. Don't know still much about Craven, but that's supposed to be coming out next year. So we'll see. Here's an interesting one. Speaking of Moon Knight. Marvel Emmy submission cast doubt on second seasons of Hawkeye and Moon Knight, but because they submitted them as a limited series category, but Loki was submitted as a drama to a drama category. So, which does kind of make sense there with Hawkeye, because Hawkeye branches off into the Echo series, because we saw Echo get introduced in that series. Also, too, Kate gets spin off to her own thing. To Young Avengers, to Black Widow, to West Coast Avengers, to just showing up in other places as well. So that makes sense for Hawkeye. Moon Knight, it depends, but we all know that after Moon Knight, that Oscar Isaac is focusing just on Moon Knight, and there's no contract for him right now because he's focusing on this Moon Knight series. Now, doesn't mean we can't see him show up in Midnight Suns or Blade or Black Knight or Ghost Rider or even Werewolf by Night coming later this year. So, that could lead to maybe a Midnight Sun series or a Midnight Suns project. So no big worries there, but it's interesting. It doesn't look like we're going to get anything right now as planned for those after one season.
I don't think they all need a second season.
Yep.
I mean, I think Hawkeye was, that story that they played out in Hawkeye was closed off quite nicely.
Yep.
Obviously, it left the breadcrumbs for other stories, but with other characters. But as far as Clint was concerned, I think his story was closed off quite nicely. Not his whole story, but that particular story that they told was closed off quite nicely. Where you look at Loki and the way that ended, it was literally, it was almost, you could almost tell there was going to be a second season straight away. We didn't even have to wait to get confirmation. You were like, well, there's so much, you've left that too open-ended for there to not be a second season, So I think some of them, you can tell when they end if they've closed that story, and others that you're like, actually, that there's too much left open there. They have to tell us more.
And that's what Moon Knight too. That Moon Knight, they could wrap up the Egyptian piece of Moon Knight's story, and then going forward, he could be more street level, more dark side, instead of focusing on the Egyptian story too. So, like I said, there's ways to go. Go ahead, Alex.
Oh, I was just gonna say, I was trying to explain to one of my buddies recently that I kind of felt like a lot of the Marvel shows are kind of more like transitionary pieces. Like they're used more, like the Falcon and the Winter Soldier was more about like transitioning the mantle of Captain America over to like Sam Wilson, and that's kind of like the whole point of the show. Like, do they need a second season of that? Probably not, and that's like kind of like the thing. And that's kind of like the whole point with like everything, like literally WandaVision doesn't need a second season because it's leading up to Multiverse of Madness, that's the transitionary like show for that,
Yeah, it almost seems like the shows are kind of builders to get more story in. That way you don't have to cover that in the movies, and the movies can get right into the action.
I remember speaking a couple of months ago, and I was banging on about the theme of identity in this phase 4 piece, but actually I think that word is a really good word there, Alex. Actually, that transition, phase 4 is a massive transition, isn't it, from what we knew from the Infinity Saga, and then we're all transitioning over to these new characters, becoming more popular, we've got Kate coming in as Hawkeye, we've got Sam coming in as Captain America, and we've got Riri coming in as Ironheart. We've got all these new people coming in, and we're transitioning over. It's like in a football season, when a new manager comes in, they transition their team. They're getting rid of some players, bringing in new players. It's a transitionary season, and this is almost like a transitionary phase to introduce these new characters. So I like that word, Alex. That's a good one.
And also, I just want to point out, I think it's really interesting too, the fact that now we've got the multiverse. We were kind of looking at just one universe, but now we're like with What If, we basically looked at a show that was like a revolving door of transitioning from universe to universe to universe to universe. So I feel like that show alone was basically like preparing us for being able to see more and more of these characters from across the universe, and it being one of those things where it's like somebody wouldn't see 3 versions of the same character on screen and basically be like, kind of like, I don't really understand what's going on anymore,
Yeah, agreed.
So, Hawkeye and Eternals are officially recognized for authentic representation of disability, specifically for Lauren Riddoff in Eternals and Alakwa Cox in Hawkeye. For Andy, your audio just if you were talking, I didn't hear audio. Okay. Um, but yeah, so so they got recognized for that for those two actresses and for their portrayals in the movies. And then next piece of here, possibly some X-Men news. I'm not sure. But Michael Waldron, is he writing X-Men project for MCU? So via Instagram, he posted on Jennifer Robinson's post about good luck for your birthday or good luck with your life for her birthday on Instagram. And she responded back, good luck with writing X-Men. Now, he's not tied to X-Men 97 at all. And Michael Waldron was the writer for the first season of Loki. So that's something interesting as well. That is he writing something for an X-Men project in the MCU that we don't know about yet, but that news came out this week and I don't know. Go ahead, Andy.
No, I was just going to say that's cool.
Oh.
I mean, I don't know. Michael Waldron, what's he done? What's his
Loki?
sort of portfolio look like? Gotcha. Right. Okay. Gotcha. That's interesting.
If they made the X-Men multiversal, that would be a really interesting kind of like link there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's been battered around for ages, hasn't it? That they would be coming in via the multiverse, just purely for the fact that they're huge history, and are they going to be able to be brought over one by one and have this massive history, or do they need to come in wholesale?
Yeah.
What's James smirking about? What are you smirking about?
Spill it.
Something just come through in the chat.
Yeah, I'll get that taken care of. You won't see it. Okay. I saw it too. I gotta block that person from the chat. I don't know what that is. It's from the page. Anyways, moving on. Paul Bettany responds to mom rumors. So he was asked about if he's in Multiverse of Madness, which would probably see a White Vision if he was. He said this, or maybe we'll see a flashback to the town. You know what town I'm talking about? Westview. Thank you. This is a really great question. And again, I said I was going to be entirely honest with you. You're asking if I'm in Doctor Strange. Yes, no, yes, no, yes, no. I don't know. Am I? What do you think? I can neither confirm nor deny rumors that I am in said aforementioned Doctor Strange. So no idea there.
Does that often turn out as a yes?
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if he's in it as a flashback, because we saw the boys, so there could be a flashback, that could be that scene, so we could see regular Vision, but I guess we'll have to wait and see.
I don't even know why we even want to know anymore, because every time they ask, we always get told yes, no, we always get kind of basically we get what we want to hear, but it's not what we want to hear at the same time.
Yeah, I still think Patrick Stewart had the absolute best response to that. So they said, did you see that when they said, yeah, so so Patrick, there's rumors that you're in Doctor Strange Multiverse of Madness, and he went, who's Doctor Strange?
Yeah.
And that was it. That was all they said. The interviewer just laughed and then went, okay, next question. Well, it's absolutely brilliant.
And then I'll go through the next couple of things pretty quickly, since we want to get into Moon Knight.
Oh, yeah.
But speaking of Multiverse of Madness, it's rated PG-13 for intense sequences of violence and action and frightening images in some language. So there's the rating for that. Also, too, to avoid spoilers, Multiverse of Madness will not be fully viewed until its May 2nd premiere, and media embargo will lift on May 3rd. So they're pretty trying to be tight-lipped on spoilers there. Last thing there was a crew gift given. It was a comic book. It said reference materials given to the crew. It was a Doctor Strange comic book with the cover that was clearly Doctor Strange and Clea. And there's been some rumors about some potential Clea stuff in the movie. So that's an interesting gift there for Multiverse of Madness set for the crew.
I'm not overly familiar with Clea, but doesn't she sort of take the mantle from Doctor Strange at one point? Yeah?
As they come through the Death of Doctor Strange run, she actually gets the mantle after that, and she's the new Doctor Strange right now.
Supreme now.
Or Sorcerer Supreme right now.
Yeah, she is the Sorcerer Supreme now, isn't she?
Yeah.
And there's something new coming out of her soon, isn't there, where she goes a little bit, loopy. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be interesting. I must catch up. I want to read that Death of Doctor Strange. I haven't got around to that yet. So, it'd be interesting to read more about her.
And then No, just two more things, and I have one King reference. So I'll get this to you quick.
Go.
She-Hulk debut rumored is to face indefinite delay. It's a 10-episode series, and now is rumored to be late 2022 or early 2023. Also, Tim Roth has had some interviews. He has high praise for Tatiana Maslany. Says he's jaw dropping in the series, and also says that Mark Ruffalo's comedic role. He's also praised that as well, or teased a comedic role for Mark Ruffalo in the series. Ironheart has finished directors, so Sam Bailey and Angela Barnes will be directing with Ryan Coogler, his production company, working on it and in a producing role. The last bit that will transition us into Moon Knight. Did you guys catch the Kang reference?
Mhm.
Ramatut.
On the jack.
Very ambiguous, wasn't it? Though.
Yeah,
And
but
even now, this kind of source that's found it is still a little bit ambiguous.
Yeah, and he's questionable.
Rumors.
Yeah, he was questionable in the past with some stuff too, but basically it says the reference is to Ramatut on the back of the young man's jacket that says, he doesn't want to hurt, and he's trying to threaten him over the cliff or over the edge of the railing, and that he kills himself. I guess on the back, the headdress, the faceless pharaoh, the teal and purple color scheme, and supposedly this Easter egg has been confirmed by Moon Knight crew members as well. So it's intentional, not something that fans are just seeing out there.
Remember that line about somebody betraying the gods? What if it would have been like Ramatut or something like that? That would be like an interesting little tie.
Or if Ramatut and Amit kind of teamed up in the past, maybe, and that's how Amit got banned.
That also gives like a doorway to Apocalypse too.
Yep.
Mhm.
With Ramatut too.
So that's all the news this week. Let's get into Moon Knight episode 3.
Yeah, it was a decent episode, wasn't it? And it started off. There was a higher intensity to the episode, wasn't there? It was just more. It's not action packed. That's not. My youngest son. He said, "Oh, hopefully we'll see more action today." And I was like, for me, I mean, I get it. I do get it. I mean, a lot of people watch superhero movies for action, don't they? I understand that. But for me, like being action packed, it doesn't necessarily mean there have to be lots of fight scenes and lots of car chases and lots of explosions. But if something is intense, even so with Moon Knight, the scene when they went into the temple, not temple, bloody hell, into the pyramid, it was quite intense, wasn't it? That whole scene. And although it wasn't action-packed, it was intense. So that the whole mood of the show, I think, was just higher up here rather than quite slow, So it did speed up a little bit. And I thought that the whole episode sped up a bit. I mean, I don't know how you guys felt about it, but like I say, for me, it was just a little bit more, oh, this is exciting, rather than, come on, get to the point,
Yeah,
So that
almost. But
I was going to say, so that scene I think was really interesting because I kind of felt like if I was looking at it from a different view, I felt like Mark Spector was like getting his mental wellness evaluated by a board of people, like basically, and they basically like try to basically like during the trial of Arthur, like to kind of segue and point it towards him and say, oh, well, are you really not well and stuff like that. And he's like, I'm not the one that's on trial here. Like, and I don't know, like, I think that this was more of like a character building episode. It was meant to kind of more flush out Khonshu and kind of more of that war between why he was ousted and how the other gods look at him. We also got to see the avatars, which are really interesting to see.
Yeah, which we're getting that kind of Fight Club-ish territory now, because there was that one piece where Steven was like, Mark, don't do it, and Mark's like, I didn't do it. And so there's further hints there that the third personality is emerging, and there's times when we think that it's Mark that has done something, it's actually Jake doing something. And I'm waiting for that Fight Club Tyler Durden narrator reveal type moment in this series, because they keep teasing him, and it feels like each episode it's getting teased more and more with Jake Lockley.
Do you think that Mark, obviously Stephen don't know what's going on, but do you think that Mark knows that Jake's around.
No.
No, you can definitely tell that they don't know. They're aware of each other. Mark's been aware of Steven the entire time.
Mhm.
Steven is now is more aware of Mark since I think the second episode now, or the first, maybe I think second episode. In the first episode, second episode, and definitely third episode. And so now you start to see where they're kind of letting each other. They're starting to trust each other and starting to work together as a team instead of Mark trying to keep Steven innocent and unaware and at bay. They're becoming more of a team now.
Yeah.
Mhm.
I mean, it's weird, isn't it? Because they're the same bloody person.
Mhm.
And if they just work together, if they just, if each of them didn't try and push the other one away, they'd actually solve a lot more problems. And I should imagine that Jake's got his uses as well, especially within the circles that he's going to be trying to operate in. So they've probably all got their use in the same body, but they're all kind of fighting against each other, aren't they? And I think that's, like Alex said it earlier, I think the whole show is about this man's mental health, isn't it? And you often fight against yourself, don't you? If anybody's out there, and I mean, everyone's got their own mental health issues. There, let's not pretend that anybody's mentally as healthy as you can be, because we're not, and we've all got our own little issues. But I think if you often find that you are fighting against yourself a lot of the time, and that's this whole show is about that, isn't it? It is about him fighting against himself just three ways.
Mhm.
But go ahead, Alex.
I was just gonna say, and I don't really think this is like an entirely new concept, because this is kind of like with the Hulk. This is kind of the same idea. Like we kind of saw this between Bruce Banner and the Hulk, and that was the whole point in the MCU of when we saw Professor Hulk. It was like him taking the two people and kind of like pushing them into one. So like we've kind of seen sort of this journey before of somebody kind of becoming whole.
And do we get an ending to where one emerges and one wins out? Like I mentioned before, there's that movie Identity with John Cusack. If you haven't seen it, go watch it. To where I'm not going to give it away, but it's called Identity, right? So I wonder if we're going down that path with this, or is it going to end up? Do all three end up working together? Is it going to be more collaboration between Mark and Steven, and they have to kind of keep Jake at bay? Because it seems like Jake is the one who is definitely out there to kill and to hurt and to go wild.
That was going to be my question to Jamie. Actually, do they ever get to a point where in the comics where they work harmoniously together, like the three of them?
Yeah, they do. There's points where there's work harmoniously, but Jake still has that wall up where they don't know what he's doing. But it does later on they are there. They just kind of they don't come out, but they're there. They're in Mark's head, and they discuss what plan of action sort of thing.
Yeah, because we don't see the reflection type stuff that we see in the series between them. We don't see that when I read. I don't remember seeing any of that.
No, it's mostly in his head. It's like you literally see them go into his head, and it's like with a big purple background. That means they're having a conversation in Mark's head, sort of thing.
So, sorry, Jamie, carry on.
I was just saying, with the mirrors is a better way of doing it, simply without lots of green screen.
RMC said that he applauds him for listening to Oscar Isaac and taking the mental health issue seriously. That was an important aspect for him. So obviously, like Oscar Isaacs himself has had a big say in, let's keep this as a major theme within the show. So they're doing that. It just reminds me what you were saying there, Jamie, about the three of them working together and like they have to keep people in bay. It kind of reminds me. Has anybody played Grand Theft Auto 5?
Mm-hmm.
And you've got, is it Trevor, Michael, and
Franklin,
yeah. And then like Trevor's basically Jake. And so you switch. For anybody that hasn't played it that's listening, you switch between, when you're doing a mission with all three characters, you can switch very quickly between each one of them. And I mean, I wouldn't say any of them are Stephen necessarily, but Trevor's certainly Jake. He's like, he will just lay the hammer down when it's needed. But you switch between the three of them. They've all got different attributes. And that's kind of what this is about, isn't it? He's almost like Moon Knight is like a team on his own, isn't he? You know, he's like a team just with one person. You know, he can switch between these different people. Like we saw him do that. You know, Layla was saying, you know, come on, like let Stephen solve this problem. Like, you know, he needs to solve this problem, which leads me on really nicely to once again praising Oscar Isaac's great work, and seeing that absolutely seamless transition between Mark and Stephen. He just stood there. Even his face, for a moment, I thought he was having a stroke on screen because his face just went sort of from this kind of hard, weathered face to this kind of soft, you know, innocent face of Stephen, and he just sort of. Yeah. I mean, I can't even do it. I just tried to do it, and I can't do it. He was great. I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And the other moment, we've already kind of spoken about it. What Alex was saying when he was in the temple, in the pyramid, and they were analysing his mental health, and the bit where he says, "No, I'm not all right. Like I am unwell," but you know, just a couple of great moments from Oscar Isaac, in my opinion. I think he's been excellent.
And speaking of that, and it almost seems like Harrow has infiltrated the Ennead, right? So we saw that they brought him in. We saw the avatars bring him in. And it looks like the MCU Ennead is Khonshu, Ammit, Harthur, Horus, Osiris, Isis, and Tefnut are the MCU Ennead, which is different from the actual real Ennead, where the poster kind of foreshadowed that in the first episode with 7. So I wonder who the 2 were that aren't there anymore. Is that Ra and Seth? Or who is that? Or, you know, or could it be Ramatut be one of them? As well in the MCU Ennead. But anyways, it seems like we saw that the conversation happened, you know, with them. We saw them basically take Harrow's side, but then we saw Harrow talking to, was it Osiris? Or who was he talking to? I think Osiris at the end. So it's almost like Harrow has manipulated the Ennead, except for Harthur, who we saw kind of help out Mark / Khonshu where to find the star map and that kind of stuff to help them out. So there's some deception going on here. Maybe they're all against Khonshu for something else that's going on, since, you know, they did imprison him for, you know, messing with the sky and the stars. But I wonder if there's any deeper story here to that, because it does seem like Harrow has them already under his thumb a little bit.
Maybe he was Khonshu's avatar when Khonshu was kicked out of their, you know, little collection.
Yeah, he knows a lot too, and we know he was Khonshu's avatar. So,
and I mean, he's the one that says the thing about the disgraced gods.
Yep.
Like to Stephen.
He's definitely got their ear, hasn't he? You know, you saw at the end he was kind of walking in, just chatting to him. And you were like, how did he get in there? Why is he in there again? You know, and he quickly turned the trial from him onto Mark, didn't he?
Yep.
Which was, and that's that whole kind of I'm not here on trial thing. That was interesting. So yeah, he's definitely got some more, and he's got sort of leftover powers as well. Or is that just in the stick? Do we think? I don't know.
I think Ammat's like power is supposed to be like a little bit of it is supposed to be in that like king of his.
It's a fraction, he said. I think in some times.
Yeah, and I feel like that kind of allows him to do a lot, but that also doesn't explain the tattoo. So you never know. Like that would be interesting to know, like how they did that.
I just want to elaborate. Well, not just pick up on something from the chat. Monty said that the trial, writing wise, was a little bit lazy. I'd elaborate on that for us, mate. We'd like to hear. I'm sure you already are elaborating on it, but if you're not, elaborate on that. Let us know what you think and why that was lazy.
While Monty's doing that, also notice too that what he said about they don't care about man anymore. It's like, but it's interesting. They have avatars, but they don't care about the affairs of man, and it's a little bit different there from the Eternals, because the Eternals did care. They just couldn't get involved unless, you know, deviants were involved. But you can tell the Egyptian gods don't care anymore, because it sounds like man turned their back on them, don't worship them anymore, so they're going to turn their back on man. Also,
Which is-
too,
Which is kind, sorry, one
Go
second.
ahead.
Which is kind of that's kind of tying back into what I was saying earlier about what in the comics what Nick Fury whispered to Thor about saying Gorr was right about the fact that the gods had turned their back on men and kind of left them to their own being. So again, it may be, as we're saying, there might be links there with the gods and the Gorr and things like that. Carry on.
It's also interesting too, as well, that we did get a new realm, so we did get the celestial place of the gods, which is also called Overvoid. So we do have a new realm now in the MCU. But also, too, an interesting fact is that they have crossed over in comics with Asgardians and Celestials as well. So I wonder if, like I said, back to the why don't we have a trailer yet? This could all tie together.
So I think it's really interesting because I kind of took the Avatar as more of like a tether for them here, but then Khonshu like says that one line through Mark where he is like, "You should return here." So it kind of like gave me more of like I don't know if that means like them physically actually come back to this realm, like they can just kind of come and go, like they don't need the tether or not, or
Well, they technically don't, because like I said, they can travel similar to the Biofrost in the comics, like that, if I remember correctly. I don't know if them having avatars just keeps them more aware of things and helps them have that travel or tether. I don't know, but I'm interested to see how that plays out, because I think we'll probably get more of them in the upcoming episodes. That's what we've seen so far.
So
I hope.
Monty, sorry, Alex, hold on 1 second. Monty said that. Oh, hold on, he's just sent through more. He said Stephen and Khonshu were literally the worst two beings in the universe. They had no time to say anything. They had so many points they could have made.
Yeah.
But in reality, they said nothing of any substance to defend themselves. They mentioned the scarab and how it was stolen. They didn't mention him flexing Amit's power by publicly draining mortals of their life force. All right, and more, like they did to the old woman in the town in episode 1.
Yep.
Yeah.
Or Haro trying to judge Steven either, and seeing the chaos piece also.
And that's the weird part, is how like the allure of Amit is how it just judges before you even commit a bad act, and the whole point of Khonshu supposedly is he's a sense of justice for those.
Say, I'm vengeance.
yeah, I'm vengeance. Didn't want to say that. Didn't want to say it.
Yeah, it's like Amit / Haro is kind of like Minority Report in a way. You know, they're kind of the precog type stuff of what you could do, you know, type of thing of versus what you haven't done yet type of thing.
Mm-hmm.
You know who's going to come in and fix that problem, don't you? Multiverse of Madness.
Yep.
Tom Cruise is going to fly in and sort that out.
Oh no! He
Anyways,
can fly in and fly right back out.
So
I'd like to hear what you guys feel, because we saw a little bit more fighting, hand-to-hand combat. I'd like to hear what you guys thought of that. I mean, I've got my opinions on it.
I think it was lazy.
Yeah.
I think that knife fight scene was kind of.
I think, was that not maybe a reference to Indiana Jones?
yeah,
I think that's why it was done that way. So I said the licking of the knife.
yep.
Yeah.
I think it's getting interesting. We saw that the suits his healing powers again. Because when he was fighting after the scene where Haro shows up and they're trying to get the star map and to find Amit's tomb, or was it Amit's tomb or somebody else's tomb, to find Amit. Either way, that fight scene was interesting because we saw him as getting stabbed, and him just using that to kill other people as well, and the suit healing factor. So it's getting interesting. I'm not going to get too much on the choreography or the fighting, because I don't think that's the main part of the story. I think the main part of the story is doing its job. So I'm not going to nitpick on CGI or fighting right now.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that I think all these elements play into a production. I don't think, especially when you're not talking about some sort of 2-bit production company. We're talking about Marvel. We're talking about Disney. We expect. And it should be decent, at least.
I think it's decent. It's not like it's Iron Fist bad.
Mhm.
No.
Yeah, I don't think the knife fight sequence at the beginning was as good as the fight sequence later on in the episode.
Yeah, I
Where
mean,
like,
I think it's based on how important is it, and I think the fight scene that I mentioned is more important than the actual rooftop chase with the knives
Mhm.
there.
And
Yeah.
I think as well, especially with this character, if you remember back before this program started, everyone was going, "Yeah, great, we're going to see the dark side of the MCU because Moon Knight is brutal and Moon Knight does this." And now all of a sudden, everyone's kind of forgotten about that, and we're all
Yep.
talking about the gods and about all this kind of stuff. And you're like, hold on, a lot of people couldn't wait to see a quote unquote Netflix style brutality of Moon Knight, and we've almost kind of now accepted the fact that that's kind of not going to happen.
Well,
And we're now sort of playing on something different. And I'm sort of going, well, hold on, there is this side of this program that is still there, and that we should, I think we should address it. I mean, personally, I think that I didn't mind the kind of street fight style of the knife fight, but it just still didn't quite give enough for me, if I'm honest.
Well, I think, like Jimmy said, it gave you that Indiana Jones type of style there. And I think as Moon Knight has gone on from the first episode into 3 now, that it's kind of ramped up on some of the darker things in it. We're seeing people die. We're seeing the fight. We have seen some blood now in this episode. Just that guy killing himself off the roof saying praise Amit and just cutting the thing. We're getting those subtle build up to that, and we still have 3 more episodes to go. So I'll wait and see what happens with it. I'm more concerned is more of the storyline. We saw that Khonshu is entombed again, so Mark is losing his powers. How is that going to work out? And if the end of the series he can't, we don't see him freeing Khonshu, what's going to be his power going forward? There's some history there in the comics where he did have temporary powers from getting bit from Jack Russell when he was introduced in Werewolf by Night, and they could tie into that where maybe he does get bit at the end of the series by a werewolf, and that's what ties into the Werewolf by Night Halloween special. So I'm more interested in that. We've seen some shots of him in a mental hospital, so I think some more thriller type stuff is coming. But also want to see how that wraps up. Everything I've heard that episode 4, which is coming this week, is there's a big surprise in this episode coming. So the buildup could be here. But I also heard that some of the media accidentally got episode 5 in their little viewing thing, and so some saw it and they said even it builds up even more and gets better in episode 5. So I feel like 4, 5, and 6 is 4 is where things really start. Or I guess the end of 3 things started picking up to where the story's like you're like, okay, where's this going? And it's getting it's building. And I think we hit that big shock moment in 4, and then 5 and 6 just kind of finish things off from everything I've heard for episode 4 and 5. So that's my thoughts on it.
I reckon the big reveal is going to be in episode 4. It's going to be Jake. And that's what I think.
So. The mental hospital, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I think. And just Monty and RMC have both kind of said, Moon Knight, lack of the dark side was a letdown for me. Monty's already moved on, but he is disappointed. RMC said same. He's supposed to be that way. Kevin himself even said it was going to be. So, but maybe we'll see more of that as Jake's personality starts coming out. Maybe that's kind of the point. Maybe we haven't seen that kind of aggression and brutality because Stephen isn't that way and Mark has got some sort of conscience about him, but Jake hasn't. I don't know. That's kind of what I picked up from you, Jamie. Am I right in thinking that? Obviously, Mark is this kind of, in the show at least, Mark is very timid. Stephen's very timid and he doesn't want to. We've seen that. He's tried to stop Mark from being violent before. Mark's kind of doing what's necessary, but he has got some sort of moral compass, and it seems like Jake just kind of switches.
That's what he has to do.
Yep.
Yeah, it does. Yeah.
Yeah, I think what's just now, as you were saying about Stephen being aware of Mark being aware of Stephen, I think Jake's aware of everything. I think he picks up bits from each of them. Like he noticed when he woke up in the taxi, he spoke to him in Arabic.
Right, yeah.
And the taxi driver said, "Why are you speaking to me in Arabic? You're acting like you're foreign all of a sudden." It obviously wasn't Stephen in the cab, so it must have been Jake. How did he know how to speak these languages because you can see what Stephen's been doing, the research Stephen's been doing, the studying Stephen's been doing. Just picking bits from Stephen, he's taking bits from Mark. That's the way I think, anyway.
Right. Okay. Yeah, he's playing both sides. Yeah. Nice.
Well, even with the poem, I mean, he kind of like stole that from Layla. For when Stephen was like, "That's my favorite poem," and she was like, "Yeah, because that's my favorite poem." You know, like.
Hey, we've got a new watcher there. We've got Sebastian's come on. How we doing, Seb?
Sebastian.
All right, it's nice to see you. Just a little shout out there. We're talking about Moon Knight. We've only got about 5 minutes left, but you can jump in. Give us your thoughts on Moon Knight, Seb. See what you're thinking.
Hey, I forgot to mention something when we were talking about Multiverse of Madness. Can I address that real quick?
Yeah, I'll tell you what. Just talking about Multiverse of Madness, just before you say, and the big reveal. Monty reckons that the big reveal might be at the Kang Ramatut tie-in, which could tie into Multiverse of Madness. Go on, Joe.
Yeah. So I forgot to mention there's been a couple new TV spots out, and there's some more focused on Mordo. And people keep saying that it's a multiverse Mordo. I don't think it's a multiverse Mordo. I think that Mordo from their first Doctor Strange movie in this universe is the Mordo we're seeing. Because think about his role in that movie. You know, when he found out that the Ancient One was using powers from
Dark Dimension.
what?
Dark Dimension.
Yeah, from Dark Dimension. Yeah, from Dormammu. I'm going blank again here. From Dormammu. And then, you know, just when they fought at the end, but also, too, the post-credit scenes when he says too many damn sorcerers as well. It seems like with him, he could be a prime candidate for the Illuminati, so that he could be this universe's Illuminati member. And just the things that he says are strange from the first trailer and even more TV spots to now, it's like he knows that Steven is messed up and he's to pay for his the problems that he's caused. So I think that Mordo is the Illuminati member from the main universe, and the same one from the first Doctor Strange.
And the problems that he caused from No Way Home.
Yep.
But the weird thing about that is you would think that like nobody would remember that.
But if Mordo is say the Illuminati is like in like some kind of dimension to where
so Mordo was outside of it.
Yep. They're watching, they're seeing, but those things that happen, like when he did the spell at the end, does not impact them. So no matter what you do in that kind of stuff, they're safe from that kind of thing. So they see all, they know all.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to see who's on that lineup. I think we're going to make our predictions the week before of who we think's on that Illuminati lineup. We should be wrapping it up around about now, lads. We can sort of take our time wrapping up this week. We've got a few minutes.
Then I got one thing for the group. So we did get a new family member. We got a four-legged family member, a new pup. We can't decide on a name, so we had a list of names. We narrowed it down to the final four, which is Sylvie, Laura, Riri, and Pepper. I put a poll in the group, so please help us decide. And I think last time I checked, Sylvie is leading, which is the favorite for my wife. So she's watching. She's in the group too, so she's watching that poll right now. She's happy. And so, yeah, if you don't know who Allura is, they're all Marvel names that we've done except for one. Allura is Princess Allura from Voltron.
You love a bit of Voltron. I went with Riri, by the way.
Nice.
Seb's just said, hey, fellas, happy Easter Sunday. Happy Easter to you too,
Happy
mate.
Easter.
Happy Easter.
He would agree. The Ramatut tie-in seems likely. I would love just a small Kang teaser in everything until Quantum Mania. I think you'll probably get your wish, to be totally honest, Seb. I think that's probably going to happen, mate. So keep your eye out for those. But yeah,
are you guys real quick though? Are you guys still waiting to see a flashback scene to ancient Egypt in this series?
Yeah,
I know. I would love to see that, and maybe we get that as a teaser. Maybe that's the big reveal.
Hey, we saw the sky.
Episode.
We saw a flashback of the sky. So
Yeah,
that's it. Right, let's wrap it up. Thank you, Jamie. Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Joe. And thank you, everybody, for listening. Lisa, RMC, Monty, Seb. Nice to have you as a new listener. Roxy, Xander as well was there. So yeah, thank you guys. Thank you for listening. Thank you for your input. It's always helpful. And interesting to have these sort of two-way conversations with you. So thank you for coming on. It's great. We love it. We'll be back next week, episode 4. This big reveal. Can't wait to chat about it, guys. It's been a pleasure. Take care.
Cheers. Have a good one.
Have a good one.
Why don't you tell him about the time we played